Hello and welcome to our webinar on affairs. I am Jesse Johnson.
And I'm Melva Thomas Johnson. We are your host and delighted that you have joined us.
If this is your first webinar you've taken from us, we'd like to begin by telling you a little bit about us.
First of all, we've enjoyed a successful marriage for over 36 years. We have 2 adult sons, and we're quite proud of them. We came together as a blended family and had to learn how to be a successful couple, and we had to learn how to be a successful family.
And because both of us had been married before, we knew the problems and challenges that would face us as a couple. And we were committed to learning what it took to be successful in our marriage. And thanks to God, we have created that. We have learned a lot about ourselves as well as a lot about each other, and that is absolutely essential in order to create a long-term successful relationship, whether you're dating, engaged, married, or simply living together.
And while we've had a successful marriage for a long time, it has not been without challenges. We have come to realize that challenges are actually growth opportunities for both parties. But in order for you to take advantage of them to build a better and stronger connection, you must know how to decode the love lesson beneath the surface so you can work through the challenges in the most productive way for yourself and for your relationship.
And finally, you should know that both of us are licensed professional marriage and relationship counselors. And that for over 30 years we have worked with couples in our private practice. We've also conducted relationship seminars for couples. And we are public speakers as well as authors of the book, Mining for Gold in Your Relationship, that is currently available on Amazon.com. We also present webinars like this one that you're taking a part in today. And we have devoted our lives to supporting and enabling couples to have the relationships of their dreams, the relationships that they have longed for but have not yet learned how to create and make happen.
In today's webinar, we want to talk to you about what we would consider the most painful, destructive, and #1 threat to a relationship, an affair. What we know for sure is one or both partners in a committed relationship usually make an agreement either covertly or implicitly that they're going to have a monogamous relationship. But for one reason or the other, one or both change their minds. There's often little or no discussion about defining monogamy, how to deal with temptations away from monogamy, how you're going to deal with violations of monogamy. If couples start off agreeing that there will be monogamy and one person changes their mind, it creates a problem.
There are 2 very important things that you will learn from this seminar. The first is, why is it that people have affairs? And the second is whether a relationship can survive an affair. We have a lot to share with you, so let's get started by first defining what an affair is. Basically, an affair is a contract violation between 2 people. This contract is either implied or overtly agreed upon. The couple at some point makes an agreement to have a monogamous, exclusive sexual relationship, and one or both of them breaks it.
Now, some people define an affair as being a person or persons who have a sexual relationship with each other outside of their marriage or primary relationship. It's done in most instances without the knowledge of their mate. The emphasis here is on a sexually intimate relationship. Sex is anything like touching, fondling, kissing of the mouth, the genital or rectal organs by either party. Therefore, it may include but is not limited to penile penetration. However, affairs can also be emotional. This kind of affair does not involve the kind of sex that we just described. An emotional affair involves an inappropriate relationship with another person outside of the primary relationship that is kept secret from one's mate. It usually involves the disclosure of private information about one's partner, seeking emotional comfort and support from this third party, and an emotional bond and connection that falls just short of sexual relations.
There is a belief that is commonly held by many that if there is no sexual involvement, that it is not an affair. This would be totally incorrect because an affair, whether sexual or emotional, is usually a secret relationship between two people. Either one or both of them are violating the monogamous contract with their primary partners. Secrets with a third party outside of the primary relationship really represents a breach of trust. So often, two people caught up in the affair not only meet secretly, but they may also disclose very private information about their mate that should remain private, just within and between their spouse or their partner. Sometimes a cheating partner may claim that the relationship they're having with this other person is just innocent. But if it was innocent, then the relationship would be out in the open and the spouse or partner would be invited to participate with them. But because that is not the case in either a sexual or an emotional affair, both are inappropriate and therefore are considered an affair or cheating. Now, sometimes, in fact, quite often, emotional relationships start off innocently enough in the beginning, but in time, they may become sexual. And once that happens, it changes the relationship completely.
There's a variety of cheaters, and there are reasons why they cheat. So before we go any further, it may be helpful for us to describe the different cheaters that often explains the reason why they cheat. This is not intended to be a complete list and therefore does not cover all the various kinds of cheaters, or does it explain the wide range of reasons why people cheat. It is intended, however, to show a few examples that we hope will be helpful and informative.
The first of the kinds of cheaters we'd like to share with you is the monogamous, committed, one-night stand cheater. In other words, this is a person who is basically committed to their partner, who has a strong commitment to their marriage or committed relationship, but who may, for some reason, find themselves caught up in a one-night stand. An example might be that they get intoxicated and that they find themselves in some kind of compromising position that they later on regret. Or they may allow themselves to be sexually aroused to the extent that things simply go too far. And while none of these situations are acceptable or excusable, it is possible to understand why it happened. As a result, the guilty partner is likely to take whatever lessons that they have learned from this experience, recommit to the relationship, their primary relationship, and remain faithful to their partner, and then move on. In most instances, they do not seek any other involvement with the one-night stand person or any other person, and vow to themselves and to their partner, if it is discovered, never to place themselves in any similar situation ever again.
And then there's the revenge cheater. The motivation of this cheater is retribution. The revenge cheater either has strong evidence to believe that their partner is cheating, or knows for, so they decide that they'll get back at their partner by having an affair, sometimes by seducing someone close to their partner, like their best friend, or it could be someone else, like someone they know, or someone they've been attracted to, someone they work with, or someone they just pick up. Sometimes the revenge partner wants their cheating partner to know about their affair, which, by the way, is often a one-night stand. It may go on for a while, but it usually is short-lived. The intent of letting the cheating partner know about the affair is intended to get back at the cheating partner by hurting them in a way that causes them the same kind of pain that their partner has inflicted on them. In other situations, it's just sufficient for the revenge partner to have their fling privately while having the personal satisfaction that they've gotten back at their cheating partner.
The next is the good times cheater. The good times cheater may be a person who has found that their life in general, or their relationship, or sex with their partner, has just gotten boring. So they decide that they will have an affair to, you know, liven things up. Quite often, their affair is sometimes short-lived, maybe even a one-night stand, and most likely they will attempt to keep it secret from their partner. Now, the good time cheater longs for some excitement in their life, and because their partner, for whatever reason, fails to provide them with what is needed, they decide to seek it elsewhere. The good times cheater can often go for extended periods of time without any urge at all to seek out the excitement with someone outside their primary relationship. However, when that urge becomes acute again, they may seek again that excitement with a partner who can provide it.
Now, this was an interesting cheater. The do I still have it cheater. This is a person who may question whether or not they still have it, meaning they wonder whether or not they still have the physical and or personal attributes that are appealing to another person or persons. Over time, for example, they may fail to make them feel wanted or desirable, so they seek the acknowledgement elsewhere. This person may be satisfied with simply being told that they are attractive, sensuous, desirable, sexy, and wanted, and things may end there. However, their need for validation may be so great that they have to have an affair to prove to themselves that they are the person they would like to think they are. This person's affair is often short-lived because once the need for validation is received, there is usually no further need for the affair, and they go back to their primary relationship with the knowledge that they are desirable, wanted, and that they still have it.
Now, the next cheater we call the loveless cheater. This is one who no longer feels that they're in love with their partner and are simply going through the motions of a relationship that is void of any real meaningful depth or emotional connection. This usually represents a long-term kind of relationship that has had a history of unresolved relationship problems. The anger and frustration over time has resulted in a gradual disconnection between the partners on many levels: emotional, physical, psychological, and spiritual. Now, this person may have children with their partner, and they may bring a certain measure of pleasure and fulfillment. However, the children may not be enough to overcome the sense of lovelessness that they must deal with on a daily basis. In order to fill the void, this person may seek love and affection elsewhere, while still tolerating a far less than desirable relationship with their primary partner. If there are no children, then the loveless cheater, in time, may leave the primary relationship and seek love, the kind of love that they desire elsewhere. If there are children, the loveless cheater may remain in the primary relationship much longer than would be expected, just for the sake of the children. The loveless cheater's affair may be strictly emotional, or it may be sexual. The desire to feel and to be able to express the love and affection to someone whom they really believe loves and cares for them is of such importance. The affairs of the loveless cheater can either be short or long term, depending, of course, upon the circumstances involved in each situation.
For the most part, the affairs that we have described so far are mostly short-term relationships, meaning they have little sustainability. The next type of cheater is more troublesome because these affairs are habitual. We have reference to the serial cheater.
The serial cheater is a person who may claim to have a strong commitment to their marriage or committed relationship. However, they have multiple affairs with either several partners, or they may engage in a long-term relationship with the same partner or multiple partners. While the serial cheater, when caught, may promise to change, they rarely do because of the rush they get, the same kind of rush that is similar to an addictive rush of an addict. The serial cheaters rarely tell the truth, not to themselves or to their partners. And again, like persons addicted to drugs or alcohol, the first step in the process of change is the admission that you have a problem and that you need help to change. However, if you are unwilling to admit that you have a problem and won't seek help, then it is likely that you will continue doing what you've always done and causing tremendous hurt and pain to yourself, your spouse or partner, your children, as well as the other person.
It's important to note that this list is only a sample of the various kinds, ways, and reasons why some people cheat. And the kinds of cheaters we've described are often used in combination. For example, a serial cheater who may become intoxicated can also become a good times cheater who then attempts to excuse their behavior because they were drunk.
We cannot leave this topic without commenting on the use of strip clubs, porn sites, chat rooms, pornographic DVDs and magazines, as well as online cheat dating. In general, we have found a great deal of disagreement among people because everyone does not agree to what is cheating. For example, about 46% of men believe that online affairs represent adultery. And that means that 54% either don't think that or are not sure. 80% believe that it's okay to talk with a stranger identified as the opposite sex. And 75% think that it's okay to visit a website. Now, you may not agree with these, but just to give you an idea, this is some of the contradictions or the differences that people have around what is cheating. About 31% of people who have had an online conversation will lead to a sexual encounter.
While within the context of one's relationship, some of them may be acceptable by both parties. It may not be accepted by others, however. This is why we recommend that each couple have a frank and honest discussion regarding what is desired and acceptable within the context of their personal relationship. In some instances, these forms of sexual gratification may be acceptable. They may be tolerated within certain limitations. For example, is going to a strip club accepted by both parties? Is going to a strip club and having a lap dance acceptable? Is going to a strip club and having sex with a stripper acceptable to both you and your partner? Going online to a dating site and using a fictitious name for the purpose of meeting possible sex partners is probably not acceptable to most partners. In addition to having a discussion about what behaviors are acceptable and not acceptable, we believe that it is important that couples make agreements and be honoring of each other's wishes.
Cheating is devastating no matter whether it is done by a man or a woman. However, men and women tend to cheat for different reasons.
Women rarely cheat for sex. It is of secondary importance. Women tend to cheat because of the need for an emotional connection that they find missing in their marriage or primary relationship. Therefore, women often have emotional affairs. They may fall in love and experience emotional intimacy with a man, but may or may not cross the line into the physical sexual act.
Now, while some men cheat for emotional connection, statistically speaking, however, men cheat primarily for one reason. You can guess what that is: sex. Men have a physiological and a psychological urge for sex that most women simply do not understand because it's not the same for women. When a woman discovers her man's affair, she may assume and conclude incorrectly that it is because of an emotional connection with the other woman. This is rarely the case. Men are able to separate sex from love or an emotional connection. So when a man says, "it was just sex," that is exactly what he means. More likely than not, he is still deeply in love with his wife or partner. In his mind, he was just having sex with another woman with whom he has no meaningful or emotional connection.
There are several factors that often determine whether or not a partner will honor their commitment to their relationship. Among these include
Well, the first is their level of emotional maturity. While some people may have matured physically, they may not have matured emotionally. They may not have developed to the point of being able to assume adult responsibility, at least in some areas. One example would be those partners who spend a disproportionate amount of time hanging out with their friends, partying, drinking, using drugs, gambling, hanging out at bars, or picking up women or men, rather than spending quality time attending to the needs of their mate and or their children. And if their irresponsibility includes using household money to engage in these activities, this could place the family at risk financially of not having those things that are needed for their family's well-being.
and then there's family modeling. Family modeling often plays a huge factor in whether or not a partner will cheat. For example, those who grew up in families whose parents honored their commitment by not cheating tend not to cheat as often, if at all. In these families, the parents modeled for their children the importance and value of sharing affection, making each other a priority, working together, resolving conflicts, overcoming problems, and honoring their marriage vows. In families where there was a lot of conflict, fighting, and where one or both parents cheated, the children may have grown up believing that this was acceptable behavior because this is what was modeled for them. The underlying belief may have been it was perfectly acceptable to get your needs met outside of the marriage or coupleship.
Now, we want to make clear that simply because a person's parents may have modeled cheating, it does not necessarily mean that all children in the household decided that it was okay. In fact, the opposite may have been the case, where the child may have decided that it was unacceptable because they witness the pain and suffering it caused within the family. In some cases, such persons may be extremely sensitive to their partner's infidelity and will not tolerate such behavior even if it is suspected.
And then here's the other element of what determines if a person will cheat, and that is their comfort with intimacy. And this is something we see over and over again. Some people decided as children that they would protect themselves by not allowing themselves to be emotionally close to others because of the intense pain they experienced with their parents, siblings, classmates, etc. They live their lives by constantly keeping their guard up to keep themselves safe. One way of playing it safe in relationships is to cheat, thereby not allowing themselves to become too emotionally connected to any one person. This can be especially hurtful and troubling to their partner because they are most likely to be longing for the kind of emotional closeness and intimacy that their partner is either incapable of giving or unwilling to give.
Now that we share with you some reasons why people often cheat, the question next is, how many people cheat? Well, the answer to this question is difficult because researchers have a hard time tracking the data they need because people who cheat usually don't always tell the truth about their affairs. You know, affairs are such a secret underground activity. However, it is estimated that about 60% of men and between 30 to 40% of women will have an affair at some time in their marriage. We have little data on couples who are living together and who are not married. However, it is our belief that the estimates are probably about the same, if not more, for unmarried couples living together because the level of commitment may not be as great. Some of the things we know are as follows.
Affairs affect 1 out of every 2.7 couples, or nearly 40%. In short, that's a lot of couples. This means that there are a lot of couples who have had to face the consequences of an affair.
70% of married women and 54% of married men did not know, at least immediately, that their spouses were having an extramarital activity. However, that changes in time.
Younger people are more likely candidates for having an affair. In fact, younger women are as likely as younger men to be unfaithful.
10% of extramarital affairs last one day. 10% last more than one day, but less than a month. 50% last more than a month, but less than a year. But 40% last 2 or more years. Few extramarital affairs, however, last more than 4 years.
And rarely do those who divorce marry the person with whom they're having the affair. And among those who did, the divorce rate was a staggering 75%.
Some experts say that the gut, one's intuition, is the most powerful indicator of a cheating lover. Adultery statistics state that 85% of women who felt that their lover was cheating were correct. 50% of men who felt that their lover was cheating were right. The first clue is seldom obvious. Typically, it's simply a feeling that something is different.
So, can a relationship survive an affair? We imagine that several of you have been waiting for an answer to this question. Well, the answer is yes. In most cases, a relationship can and often does survive an affair.
There are situations, however, when we recommend extreme caution when deciding to reconcile. They include what we call is the reckless serial cheater. Unless there is a clear, honest, and deep commitment followed up by a demonstrated effort to seek professional help, we cannot recommend attempting to reconcile a marriage or relationship when there has been a pattern of repetitive infidelity, as in the case of the reckless serial cheater.
Sometimes the serial cheater can be reckless in their behavior that could place the primary partner's well-being at risk. Because of having indiscriminate sexual relations with multiple partners who may also be serial cheaters, one of the possible consequences is the possibility of passing on sexually transmitted diseases to their partner. This reckless pattern is often a signal of a character disorder that requires psychological treatment by a competent mental health therapist. A person with such a disorder may not feel any remorse for their behavior.
And often the person is unwilling to seek therapy and or blame their behavior on their spouse rather than taking responsibility for their own dysfunctional behavior. Sometimes a serial cheater, because they know that they can cheat and can get away with it, they continue that behavior. The betrayed spouse may complain, but that's all that they do. And in some instances, the betrayed spouse may prefer that the cheating spouse gets their sexual needs met outside of the marriage or relationship because they're unwilling to have sex with the cheating spouse anyway.
In other instances, the betrayed spouse simply accepts the situation as it is, may believe that they are trapped and can't do anything about the cheating, may have poor self-esteem, and may feel that the marriage or relationship to an unfaithful partner is the best they can do. Maybe they feel they're unable to financially to support themselves and or their children without their mate, or may have any number of reasons for accepting their spouse's unacceptable behavior.
Another one of the situations that we don't always recommend that couples reconcile is in the case of the sex addict. The serial cheater may have a sexual addiction in which sexual gratification is sought compulsively in a frequency or a manner not available in the marriage. The sex addict usually feels some sense of remorse and feels helpless, however, to stop their behavior. The prognosis for the sex addict is considerably better than the person with the character disorder, which is often the case with the reckless serial cheater. In both instances, the person must be diagnosed and treated individually if there is to be any meaningful progress toward recovery.
The other partner to really think about in terms of reconciling is an unwilling partner refusing to get help for their addictions, mental and physical abuse, and or serious mental health problems. When a partner refuses to make the commitment to get help when they engage in a dysfunctional behavior pattern, that may include such things as physical and emotional abuse, alcoholism, drug abuse, gambling, refusal to work to provide funds for the family, untreated mental health problems, etc. We're thinking that you need to take a long, thorough consideration about that.
We often cannot recommend attempting to reconcile these relationships, especially when the health, well-being, or lives of a partner and our children are at risk. It is essential that they remove themselves from any kind of a really dysfunctional or threatening situation immediately. Mental health professionals, as well as educational staff members, are required, by the way, by law, to report any potential endangerment to the authorities.
So here's the next important point. What is required for healing from an affair and moving on? The good news is Only about 17% of divorces in the United States are the result of infidelity. This means that the overwhelming majority of couples stay together and most find ways over time to repair the damage. No, it doesn't happen overnight. It does take time and a lot of work, but in the end, most succeed.
So, what's required for healing from an affair? Well, we say the first step is to acknowledge and validate the pain of the betrayed partner as a result of the broken contract. This means that I see it, I understand it, I understand how I contributed to it if I happen to have been the person who did the betraying, whether I agree with the person's upset or not. This is not the time to be defensive. Later comes making amends and forgiveness. Our additional recommendations include
End the affair completely. This means no more secret meetings, phone calls, text messages, notes, or any other forms of private personal contact. You must state emphatically that the affair is over and ask the third party not to make any attempts to contact you or continue the affair. You may need to reaffirm your position many times before they are convinced. You also need to be clear that you are not going to continue the affair as well. If the person is someone at work, which is often the case, and it's not feasible to find new employment, then it is essential that you maintain the appropriate boundaries between you and this person. Know that if you continue to have contact with this person, most likely it will be discovered because your spouse or partner is now super sensitive to your behavior patterns. They'll know. This will only serve to deepen their distrust of you and make it nearly impossible for them to move on.
the next step in the process is to be truthful and honest with your partner. This means telling the truth, the whole truth, and not trying to hide the truth from your partner. If you were the person who had the affair, it is likely that you will be asked certain questions several times. Be sure to answer them as many times as it takes until your partner is satisfied that they have all the information they need. This is also a part of the healing process that is necessary for them to release their hurt and pain. You may not want to answer certain questions out of fear that it may hurt your partner even more. Just remember, they're already been hurt. However, no matter how embarrassing it might be or how much additional hurt it might cause them, you must answer all questions honestly, completely, and repeatedly if necessary. Your partner is not likely to let go of the pain of the affair until they are satisfied by knowing everything they need to know. It is also extremely important for both of you to fully understand the root causes of the affair, the steps leading to it, in order to begin the process of recovering from it.
Open up the lines of communication. You must talk to each other about your hurt, pain, regrets, appreciations, strengths, areas needing attention, plans to overcome the consequences of the affair, your plans for your future. Some of what your partner shares may be hard to hear. While this may be difficult, it is an important and essential step.
Then next, be sure that you fix whatever problems that need to be fixed in the relationship. The chances are that you have had some long-term unresolved problems in some areas of your relationship. Maybe not all, but in some. It is also possible that you have tried but failed to resolve these problem areas. There must be a willingness to do whatever is required to fix them, which may include going to a professional marriage counselor to enable you to learn some new communication and problem-solving skills.
And then there must be a recommitment to the relationship. We suggest that couples engage in either a formal or informal recommitment to their relationship. It represents a way of affirming a new start with pledges each will make to the other as an indication of their commitment or recommitment.
And in addition, you need time to heal. The shame, the hurt, the pain is not likely to go away right away. However, in time, the emotional intensity will become less and less. It is important to give yourself and each other the time that you need to heal so that you can move forward.
Next is forgiveness. In order to move forward and rebuild your relationship, you must forgive. Forgiveness begins with a decision to forgive. Until or unless you forgive, you will remain stuck in all of the emotional pain, anger, disappointment, and distrust because it will serve as a constant reminder of what has happened. You will relive the entire episode over and over again, like watching a bad movie repeatedly and not being able to turn it off. This is no way to live. You must decide to hit the stop button so you can get on with your life and all the new, exciting, and marvelous possibilities that await you. Forgiveness does not mean that you have to forget the hurt and pain of the affair. It does mean that you make a conscious decision not to be consumed thinking about it continuously. In time, the hurt and pain will become less and less.
As long as you and your spouse continue to blame each other for the affair, you will remain stuck on a dead-end street that gets you nowhere. To get past that, each of you must begin to accept responsibility for what each must do to contribute to making a meaningful, positive change in the relationship. Both of you must decide to forgive, including yourself, as well as your partner, and set a new corrective course and take a new direction in your lives and relationship. Forgiveness is an active, ongoing, and often moment by moment process. It is not a one time event. It is both mental, meaning what goes on in your mind, as well as behavioral, meaning your behavior and your actions, that is, what you do. Remember that trust forms the basis for a successful marriage or relationship. It means feeling safe, secure, and confident with your partner. When trust has been violated and continues to be violated, it erodes the very foundation of the relationship until eventually there is nothing left.
So, the last requirement for healing is planning a vision for your future. This is how you want to be together if you decide you want to stay together. This vision provides the context to renegotiate the agreement and contract of exclusivity and monogamy. And it answers the following questions. What behavior is desired of both partners? What is the plan for accomplishing that? What is the process for working through undesired memories and flashbacks about the affair? What will you do if tempted in the future? How will you resist if you're the betrayer? Recognize that the person who was betrayed has to want to recover from the pain before there is any discussion about how to move forward. It may take time for them to get to this point. In the interim, the betrayer must be patient, continue to affirm their commitment to the relationship, demonstrate that commitment by their behavior, and allow their partner the time needed to believe their sincerity. That is what we call making amends. Remember that being in a relationship is about being vulnerable.
We have some closing recommendations that we'd like to offer to you. There are 5 of them. The first one is this. If you are currently having an affair, stop. End it now and recommit to your relationship before it is discovered by your mate, who, by the way, may already know that you've been fooling around but just hasn't confronted you with it yet. If you have been considering having an affair, don't. It is a mistake that you're likely to regret for the rest of your life.
The third recommendation, if you've been having problems in your relationship, fix them now and don't wait. Get help from a competent professional counselor. An affair will only complicate things and will not solve the problems in your relationship.
The fourth one is, don't think that you can keep your affair secret forever. That's especially true if you're a man. Most of us guys think we can get away with that. There is no such thing. One way or the other, it's going to be found out. Remember the statistics that we quoted earlier from the one study that showed that women's gut feelings about their man's cheating were 85% accurate, and men were 50% accurate. Remember that it has been said that whatever is done in the dark will eventually come to the light.
And number 5, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. We mean that in many instances, it is far better to fix a relationship after an affair than to act too hastily getting a divorce or ending a meaningful, long-term committed relationship too quickly. We cannot tell you how many times couples who've ended a marriage have later come back to us and told us that they made a huge mistake. So in closing, we want you to know that we've enjoyed having you on this webinar and sincerely hope that what we have shared has been informative and helpful. We'd like to think of you, we'd like you to think of us as your relationship support couple who want you to create and sustain the relationship of your dreams.
And we know that that is possible. If you have information, skills, tools, a commitment to the relationship, a willingness to learn, grow, and change, and an unwavering desire to build that dream relationship for mutual benefit. We know it's possible because we've done it. We want to thank you for participating, and we want you to have an awesome day, week, month, year, and life. This is Jesse Johnson
and Melva Thomas Johnson signing off for now.
We'll be offering additional valuable, informative webinars in the future on a wide range of relationship topics. We hope that you'll join us.